A right-wing think tank notorious for anti-LGBTQ and anti-abortion propaganda has a new status, according to a new ProPublica report. The conservative advocacy group Family Research Council filed an application to change its designation to a tax-exempt, quote, association of churches in March 2020, and the IRS approved the change a few months later. Now, 40 Democratic lawmakers have sent a letter to Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen and IRS Commissioner Charles Rettig urging them to review this status, saying that the FRC's claim to be a church, quote, strains credulity. We reached out to the IRS, which declined to comment, and to the FRC, which has not responded. Joining me now is one of the lawmakers who sent that letter, Congresswoman Susan DelBene of Washington, chair of the New Democrat Coalition. Congresswoman, thank you for coming to the Sunday show. In the letter you sent, you stated that the Family Research Council does not hold religious services, does not have a congregation or affiliated congregations, and does not possess many of the other attributes of churches listed by the IRS. So how do you think they were able to get this status change?
Well, thanks, Jonathan. It's great to be here. That's why we sent the letter. We want to find out. The Family Research Council is first and foremost a political advocacy organization. And so it's unclear how the IRS came to this conclusion. So we sent a letter, 40 members of Congress, to find out what their thinking is. This is very concerning because this could be an ongoing trend for political advocacy organizations to try to get status as a church. They don't have the same transparency and disclosure requirements if they receive this designation. And so we've got to make sure that the IRS is treating things fairly and that we're not kind of undermining the status of actual churches by allowing more of these political advocacy organizations to be designated as churches or associations of churches, as the IRS has said.
You just touched on something that was related to the next question I was going to ask you, because the Family Research Council's new church status means that it doesn't have to file a specific kind of tax return known as a Form 990 that provides transparency on staff salaries, donations, and a whole lot more. And I think this is sort of a leading question. Should the FRC, which the Southern Poverty Law Center calls an extremist group, be able to sidestep this financial responsibility? Should the Treasury Department and the IRS revoke that designation?
Well, I don't see how they can possibly qualify when we have all of the criteria, like having worship services and congregation. I don't know how they meet that criteria. There's many lists of criteria that designate you as a church or association of churches that they don't meet the criteria for, and they can't have their primary goal be political advocacy, which clearly has been a primary goal for the Family Research Council. So for all those reasons, it doesn't make sense. And as you pointed out, this designation shields them from providing information, for example, about board members, staff salaries, donations, information that others have to provide. So we sent the letter. We expect a response from the IRS explaining this, and then we'll follow up once we have more information from them.
And the designation that the Family Research Council got is, as you pointed out in the letter, part of an alarming pattern over the last decade of this very thing happening. So the question is, do you think there's a lack of oversight over these kinds of decisions?
Well, that's our role. We are the oversight arm in Congress, and so that's why we want to send the letter, understand what the IRS is doing here, because, as you say, this could be an ongoing pattern where other political advocacy organizations decide that they don't want to have to meet transparency guidelines, and they also apply to be churches or associations of churches. That would be an incredibly troubling trend. So we in Congress can do something about that. And our first step is to get more information from the IRS so we can decide the next steps to take.
And have you heard, we've been trying, I think, two weekends now to get you on to talk about this from when I first learned about it. Have you heard From anyone at Treasury, anyone at IRS, any response to your letter?
We haven't had a response yet, so we'll, we sent the letter just a couple weeks ago, so we hope to have a response soon.
The one thing, Congresswoman DelBene, that I find kind of galling about this is that, for decades we hear conservatives sort of hectoring, quote unquote, liberals for gaming the system and for cheating and doing all sorts of things to take advantage of the American people. And yet this is an instance where a right-wing advocacy group has gamed the system to allow them to get tax-exempt status and to shield themselves from any kind of public accountability. I mean, am I wrong here, or am I overstating the amount of outrage that I have?
No, you're absolutely right, and there's no justification for how this decision was made. That's why we want to understand what's the ongoing criteria that the IRS are going to use. Why is a political advocacy organization absolutely that top priority, something that has been clear should not be, you should not engage, have your primary goal be engagement in political advocacy, something that this organization has done, how they meet the definition makes no sense. Mm-hmm. And this would create an ongoing trend, to your point. And I think we want to see more transparency when it comes to political advocacy. We want to make sure that people know who are running these organizations, who's behind these organizations. So, right. So it moves us absolutely in the wrong direction and would create a very troubling trend.